junk mail, junk food. I'll board a junk to sail on a junket round the world, calling on shores where hoopoes dance, flashing their combs, and others where the elephant seals are copulating, and their roars are mocked by Arctic terns. My ship will visit Malabar, not Timbuktu, it's not a bloody camel. You can come along, but only if you promise not to screw my crew, or wear petunias in your hair, sleep on watch, snort coke, sniff glue. No need of that aboard my ship. The winds I ride will send you higher than a skysail yard. The waters from the wells of islands that I know will drink you drunker than a football crowd, blow up your mind. And from the sunsets and variegated dawns you'll steal the colours that a firecrest wears to stimulate his mate. And from the squawks of gulls and goony birds, I'll score you a symphony diviner than Mozart or Bach or Brahms. I know of ports so secret that their names are only printed on the charts, drawn by hydrographers disciplined in necromancy and associated arts, and kept in brass-bound chests, secured by knots even Excalibur couldn't undo. My compass has no card. We sail by stars, and navigate by day by following such birds we light on, and by night, when clouds roll out a carpet, by the stench of land lying beyond the horizon, or by the wake of whales. This is a circumnavigation of a life, great circle course over the swish-swash ocean of one time. But the beer in the potter's arms is clear and cool. Swallows arrive to knife the air, the bees to buzz, and in the park the sleepers on the benches wake each day a trifle earlier. Buses sail past the windows, hearses sweep by, and students rock to earphones. Gulls scrap on refuse heap like bishops, car horns make war, and gentles turn to blue bottles before your very eyes. Pond skaters scatter on the pond, kingfishers fish. Sunlight lights on a satellite dish. I peer through an empty glass, boot up the machine, tap in some sentences of my obituary. She stands behind me, licks my ear. I know she is watching as I walk over the stubble in the late sunlight. She is aware of the holes in my shoes. I'm not alone as I go towards the trees. She will be there when the wind seizes my smoke. She will carry my ash to the mountains for the rain to wash to the sea. I mean, I don't think consciously about such things, but obviously, everything is influenced by what's been put into one's head. And that, so the question of tradition and how much tradition influences is both relevant and irrelevant.
When I looked at that book, part of me is thinking that the she is also the tradition.
No, I hadn't. Oh, well, no. You see, this is always fascinating. Now you put that idea into my head. She might be the tradition, yeah. But I hadn't even thought of that. But I think this is very interesting. Is when you're writing poetry, how often you find afterwards there are things in there you didn't even think consciously that you hadn't thought about, and you make discoveries in your own writing. This comes back to this idea of adventure, which is very much my approach. I don't want. It's almost like I remember when I first started, I did quite a bit of free writing, and that's become a kind of habit in a sense. and that I don't want to know or plan too much what I'm going to write, because I feel that acts as a damper. I'll read one that I just wrote to you yesterday, because this sort of figures on this. I don't know whether it's any good.
Before you do that, though, can I just say out of interest that I always took that the she in that poem was the muse.
Right.
Well, it could be.
That's
It could
the
be.
way.
Yeah.
That's the way that I always took it.
Yeah.
Around
Yeah.
the tradition specifically.
Yeah.
So it sort of reinforces what Milner was saying about the fact that sometimes you're not entirely sure what you said yourself, and that it resonates differently with different people, doesn't it?
And other people will never read into it exactly what you get. So I don't like to say what anything is, because I don't want to dictate my particular ideas. That's up to the reader.
Reality, doesn't it, for every reader?
Yeah, very different. Yeah. This one's called A Hidden Corner. An arm of a chair blocks the lower left corner of the TV. Whilst the couple on the screen are embracing, inset a bunch of frogs, yellow with white chests, thumb their wide noses. There's a car chase now, offset by a gaggle of pink geese, pursuing a purple fox with open beak. What will happen when the Pope comes on? Maybe Satan and his retinue will take turns to gangbang a priest. Perhaps it's best to move the chair. Now! But a friend on the site had written that in his head, he'd written the title as In a Corner of My Mind, and which is quite interesting, because that is what happens. And that is why I think it's so important, not for me, not to have intent, because otherwise I wouldn't discover these corners, hidden corners that the mind throws up. And you can worry about the logic and things afterwards. And actually, you can impose intent afterwards. But you must. To me, I want that freedom.
And I suppose also, if you've got fixed forms, for instance, iambic pentameter, or you've got a sonnet or something like that, then it's restricting you from the beginning, because it's not allowing you to have the adventure that you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that. Yeah, I think in fact most of the stricter forms that I've done have actually put the form afterwards, because when I've written something, I thought, hey, this is a sonnet, and then put it into the form.
But only if the letters.
Yeah, because I think it's important that the form is your servant, not your master. Yeah.
Is the new poem one of the unpunctuated lowercase poems?
Yeah.
So it sort of fits in with the ones.
Is
it actually in the collection?
No, it's not. No, the one he just written it.
But it's certainly stylistically within the same sort of idiom, isn't it?
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask about that, having looked at it. Did you have any models for that? I mean, sometimes I was reminded of E. Cummings.
Well, obviously
because you've got the lowercase,
yeah.
it's unpunctuated. Yeah. I wondered if there's anybody else, or whether it's just something that's come easily to you as a result of what you were trying to achieve.
I think I've probably had quite a lot of models. I can't specifically think of. Obviously, I think of Cummings. But I did quite a few when I first started. I did some in that, quite a few in that form. But I wasn't really so conscious of what, in a way, what was required. I think I was concentrating very much on how it looked on the page, whereas now it's very important that I think of rhythms.
These two, Ed's just showing me doldrums and memory from Confusion of Ideas. Yeah, and they sort of, they're quite similar to the new
Yeah, I did quite a few like that. But I say I sort of, now I'm much more sort of trying to be conscious about developing, doing it right, and you have to get your line endings right if to otherwise because you're not using punctuation. But I find it kind of